Hey yo, how you guys doing? Do me a favor before we get started on this whole thing, right? Subscribe, like, or hate, and share this video. Um, we trying to get our numbers up. Thank you very much, and enjoy this broadcast. My parents used to tell me that being a nigger is a state of mind and not a race of people. Being a nigger is how you see yourself first and foremost, not necessarily how others see you. So if you see yourself as a nigger and you feel like a nigger, then you are a nigger, and you can't get upset if someone calls you a nigger. However, if you have a healthy self-esteem and respect for yourself, then you're not a nigger. And please understand, when I say nigger, I mean the very bottom of the barrel in the race of black people. Black people don't even like niggas. Now, again, this might sound like a Chris Rock set, but my parents were saying this long before Chris Rock got on stage. But I said all of that to say this: African Americans, black people, we get a raw deal because of the niggas who are profiled in the media and in the rap videos and on the reality shows. Decent, self-respecting black people, we don't carry on like park apes. We don't make a spectacle of ourselves. We're not loud and boisterous and want to be seen. That's not our style. We want to live and let live just like everyone else. Point blank, period. Sadly, in this society that we live in, there are folks who cannot tell the difference between African Americans and niggers. I will tell you this: if you really want to piss a self-respecting African American off, confuse them with a nigger, and boy, you'll have a fight on your hands there. So anyway, I've been noticing the attitude change toward African Americans ever since 9/11. See, before the terrorists crashed those planes into the World Trade Center, a lot of people, white, black, and other, they act like they couldn't tell the difference between African Americans and niggers. And a lot of times when decent, self-respecting African Americans walk through airports, they treated us like niggers. They behaved as if we were masked men who were about to hijack an airliner. And we got a hard time at the airport. However, after 9/11 and the terrorists, they stopped treating African Americans like niggers, and they started treating Arabic people or those who looked Arabic like the niggers that they despise. Well, that leads us to the coronavirus. Ever since the coronavirus, there has been elevation or a shift in the status of African Americans, because nowadays, with these masks on, seeing that white folks and everybody else can't tell the difference between African Americans and niggers. So at this juncture, they leave us all alone, and it seemed like they hope for the best. Like, for example, right? I was going in the bank the other day with my mask on, and as I was walking into the bank, a policeman was coming out, and not only did he hold the door for me, He said, good morning. Now, you know, prior to the coronavirus, that cop would have seen a masked black man walking in the bank, and that cop would have said, I got to do something about this nigga. And I probably would have got killed right there on the sidewalk. So again, the coronavirus has elevated the status of African Americans. And nowadays, folks can't tell the difference between African Americans and niggers. So when I got in the bank with my mask on, would you believe that the bank manager offered me coffee and donuts? A black man with his mask on. Once again, the bank manager not being able to distinguish a decent, self-respecting African American from a fucking nigger. So what did he do? He hoped for the best when he offered me a cup of coffee and some donuts, which I gladly accepted. So while I was standing there conducting my business, eating my coffee and donuts, these three black guys come walking in the bank with their mask on. And right away, I thought it was three niggers. And I hit the deck and I hid behind the counter. The bank manager quickly ran over to me. He said, what's the problem, Mr. Hobson? You okay? And I, embarrassed, I apologized. I said, well, actually, I thought those three gentlemen over there were three niggers. And I thought they were coming to stick the place up. And this is crazy because, you know, again, it's a shift in social status. And even though I'm a black man, I can't allow myself to get too soft. Because when you get soft, you become food for the predators. So anyway, my wife took me on a vacation for my birthday. And believe it or not, it was 9/11/2020. And would you believe that me and my wife walked into the airport with our masks on, and we checked in, and we cleared the TSA checkpoints, and we got on a plane with our mask on. Now, you know damn well, prior to COVID-19, if you would have saw two black people walking toward an airport entrance with a mask on, you would have automatically said, what are these niggas up to? And we probably would have got killed. And it's ironic that we could walk into an airport and fly on a plane with masks on, because the face of terrorism throughout the world is a masked man. But nevertheless, the status of African Americans has been elevated. And with these masks on, people cannot tell the difference between a self-respecting African American and a fucking nigger. So what they do, they cross their fingers and hope for the best. My final example is, I was running late for a doctor's appointment. And as I was approaching the elevator with my mask on, the door was closing. And I looked right into the eyes of this elderly white woman. And as the door was closing, I was saying, this fucking bitch, I don't believe she's going to let that door close on me. But believe it or not, folks, that lady reached over and she hit that door open button. And when I got on the elevator, she smiled at me and said, we can't have you missing the elevator. You might be running late for an appointment. And I'm feeling embarrassed from calling this elderly woman a bitch. But again, in my mind, I'm saying to myself, there's no way this woman's going to let me on this elevator with her with a mask on, because no doubt she will think that I'm a fucking nigger with this mask on. But to my surprise, that woman opened that door up, and I guess she said a little prayer and she wished for the best. Hopefully this is a decent African American under this mask and not a fucking nigger. I'm done with it.